Hello and welcome to The Pickle, brought to you by AC4SA, academic coaching for student athletes, and co-hosted by Ethan O'Day and Jack Sundberg. Here on The Pickle, we discuss with our guests, ranging from coaches to professional athletes, the pickle of all things, academics, sports, recruiting, high school to the pros, you name it, we talk about it. Our goal for the podcast is to give people insight into the sports world and student athletes' perspectives by sharing current and former athletes, educators, and coaches' real-life experiences. Telling story is one of the most powerful means for leaders to influence, teach, and inspire. These stories resonate in our culture, history, and lesson learned. The Pickle brings you these stories of adversity, triumph, failure, and determination to get inspired, to take them to your school, home, life, and court. Listen, learn, share, and enjoy. Today's guest is Drew Urquhart. Drew is from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Drew played high school basketball in Canada and in Washington State for his senior season. He also competed for Team Canada U18 national team in the FIBA Championships. From there, Drew attended the University of Vermont, where he went on to win an America East Championship and make the NCAA tournament. Drew was an all-conference player his senior season. He went on to play professionally overseas in Estonia. And now Drew runs successful businesses. He is the founder and CEO of Bench Marketing, as well as God the Father Apparel. Welcome to The Pickle.
The Pickle Pot, we're back and we're better. Super excited for our guest this week, former teammate of mine, U19 Team Canada, 4-year D1 basketball player at the University of Vermont, 1-year pro, current CEO of multiple e-commerce companies, Drew Urquhart, the Big Bench. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Drew, I'm fired up to have you on. Our second Canadian. Trey was good, but I think you're going to one-up him.
Oh, that's a guaranteed.
That's a guarantee. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. So Ethan will just take you through. We do a little 5 rapid-fire questions just so you know, a little ease into a little icebreaker, and the guests get to know you a little bit better. So take them away.
I'm still reading these off my phone. I've not memorized it yet. Let's go right into it. Rapid fire questions. Dinner with one athlete.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say the first person that comes to mind is Steve Nash, but I'm not going to say Steve Nash. I'm going to say Shaq because I would be able to pick his brain. He owns a lot of businesses. I think that'd be a more beneficial conversation.
See, that was Steve Nash was Trey's answer, the classic Canadian answer. But you thought of the business side of it. That's what
I like that.
Talk to Steve Nash about. I obviously would be able to talk to him, but what would come out of that, I'm not too sure. So Shaq is my answer.
Love that.
All right, number one thing on your bucket list.
I got to jump out of a plane.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a big one.
You have to do it.
Never do it.
Ethan is always like, I'm never going to do that.
No, you have to. And especially, what if you're on your deathbed, Ethan? You don't know the joy of jumping out of a plane.
Maybe we can do it when we're in our 60s or 70s, like the movie The Bucket List. I think they did that. Yeah. I'm down for that.
You said it. Once you say it, you can't take it back, so that's the deal.
All right, deal. We'll make that. Favorite movie all time?
Oh, okay. I'll give you 2. One is Prisoners, Jake Gyllenhaal.
So good.
But then I'll go completely separate and go Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey. You can't go wrong. I think those are 2 phenomenal movies.
Wow. Both sides of the spectrum. I like that.
Yeah. How do you start your day every morning?
I shower, I get a coffee, I get a granola bar, and then I start working. Boring, but simple.
Oh,
Gotta grind.
And your favorite quote?
I'll give you a Bible verse. Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I am with you. There you go. That's a good one.
There we go.
That's right in. God the Father. There it is.
There it is.
Awesome. You did it. Completed.
Not too bad. Did you like the answers?
I love the answers. They were quick and concise.
Beautiful.
Terrific. Yeah, so obviously everyone, pre-listening will have an intro of who you are and all that. So we'll just dive right in. Talk a little bit about your journey. Obviously, coming from Canada, it's different than most just recruits in our area from the Northeast or down South. It's different. You're dealing with a lot of different things. Talk a little bit about your journey just from Canada to UVM, and, what was the recruiting process like, and as well as how important were your grades coming into that whole process?
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a good question. For me, it's different because I actually was ineligible to play my senior year in Seattle. So I was like Canadian and decided to make the move over to America my senior year, in hopes of like getting some more offers, getting some more exposure. But for the first, I guess, 2 years in Canada that I actually played high school basketball, grade or 10th grade, as you guys say in America, 10th and 11th grade.
Sir.
I had some good seasons and some good interests, which kind of led me down the path, like Utah State, Pepperdine, some bigger, like nice, I guess, go-to schools showed interest, which kind of led me down the path of like, hey, I should go to America early. I should figure it out. I should, because the West Coast in Canada and the East Coast are very separate. Like East Coast is more grit, grind, like they're better over there. The West Coast, we're soft. We're like, there's not very much good competition. So I was like, I got to get out of here if I'm going to make it at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was ineligible. So at the time, it was a blessing in disguise. I got to play with like Matisse Thybulle, who plays for the 76ers. I played on a team that came second in state against DeJounte Murray and Shaquan Aaron, like some big name guys. So I got better. I do not regret that decision at all. But because I was ineligible, I decided to commit earlier rather than, I guess, a normal commit would. So Vermont, a good opportunity to go play in a good league, and go to the tournament and like win games. So that was kind of that situation. Grades, very important. I guess in Canada, it's a lot easier to get good grades. Like in America, it's like a 93 is an A. In Canada, an 84 and 86 is an A. So like I had A's and B's and it was very easy. So I don't know. For me, it came naturally. But that being said, I know a lot of people from BC and Canada who did not have good grades and did not go to school because of it. So obviously, at the end of the day, it's a very important thing, and it shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without a doubt.
That kind of segues into the next question of like, so, when you get to Vermont, you're coming all the way from Vancouver, basically across the country, and then into another country.
Sure.
What was it like just balancing school, basketball? I was with you for that first summer. I know it was. I mean, we talked about it with Trey. It was a tough summer that we had, just with so many freshmen coming in. I believe we graduated 5 or 6 seniors, and then we brought 5 or 6.
Yeah, you guys graduated 6, I believe.
6 seniors, and then 6 freshmen came in, or it was 5 or 6, and then yeah, we had lifting and the lifting and the schedule was very tough that summer, and we got ready to go to play in Canada, up in Montreal right away. I mean, what was that whole experience like for you, and then transitioning into the fall with school, basketball, social life?
No, dude, that summer was by far the worst and hardest summer I have ever gone through in my life. I mean that summer was when we all get together, we talk about that summer. Like that was, I couldn't count on my hands how many times I puked like that summer, all in all. And plus that Canadians had to we weren't allowed to take like online, as people make jokes of like basket weaving classes. Like you couldn't go to an easy class. We were like taking, there was like 50 or seniors in our classes, me and Trey's freshman year. Like we were balancing tough classes for, I don't know what reason. And just because we're Canadian, we had a harder schedule, but the lifts and the conditioning and the like living in the dorms with everyone, overall it was an awesome experience. And everyone obviously coming from a different country, different side of the country, it's like people welcomed me. I felt a part of the team. It was like an awesome experience to like meet a bunch of cool dudes who now I'm friends with 6-7 years down the road. You know what I mean? That overall started in that summer. Cause I feel like if you don't go through like the nitty gritty, like grind together, like bleed, sweat, like literally puke together. Like, I don't know. We formed a brotherhood that summer. That's for sure. So, overall, I think it was incredibly difficult, but it kind of kickstarted the next 4 years, which were obviously a successful 4 years. So I think at the end of the day, I felt welcomed, but it was necessary and it was awful. I don't know.
No, I think that's good because I think a lot of kids coming in it's like when you first come into school, you're like, oh, I finally made it. I finally got my offer. I'm here. But what I think a lot of, seniors in high school or just high school kids in general is, they get there and then all of a sudden it's like, then the work really just begins. It's like, then it's almost, you're treated not as a pro, but you're expected to get your work done. You're expected, to be at lift on time, have your schoolwork in order. And then for you on top of it, coming from Vancouver, talk a little bit more about just, I think a lot of kids going away from home is a big deal. They live at home for their whole lives. And then all of a sudden, maybe they're shipped off or they get an offer at Pepperdine and they live in the East Coast. Talk a little bit about just your transition from living away from home, because I know a lot of people struggle with it, not in a bad way. It's just new and it's different.
Yeah. So I guess I was pretty lucky because I moved away from home all the way back in like the 9th grade. I would live in Vancouver for 3 months out of the year to play in Vancouver because I originally grew up in a small town in Canada. So I would like go 3 months in the summer and not see my family. I'm the oldest of 4. So like I had to grow up quickly, which I'm thankful for. And then like grade 10 year, I would be away for like 4 months. Actually, grade 10 year, I was away for 6 months living in a dorm room in high school while my family was back in Kelowna. And then obviously grade 11, I lived with everyone, but then you go away for summers for basketball. Grade 12, I lived in Seattle for the entire year, close. So it was like to be honest, when I moved to Vermont, it felt normal at that point. So I never really got homesick or anything like that. I was more so just like, I got a good group of friends. That story does actually change when I went to Estonia, because in Estonia, that I did not enjoy. Like that, I did feel like I'm in a different planet. And so like,
we'll get into that.
To keep it on topic, I honestly didn't feel too bad. I think it's honestly because I had been away from home since the 9th grade. So for me, it wasn't that bad. I was lucky enough to have a really good group of guys who accepted me and who like treated me like family from day one. I also had 5 other freshmen who were doing it with me. So it didn't feel like I was the odd man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
definitely.
Having that big freshman class, I think it helps. It helps a lot because you're not stuck with just 1 or 2 guys that you have to.
Like half the team's
majority of the team was new.
Right.
Talk a little bit about. Sorry, Jack. Talk a little bit about the. Just briefly on what it's like being an international student, because I don't think people realize that. Like, I remember you guys having to do the taxes stuff, and you said like the classes, like just like the little like weird different things that you have to do as
it's actually very well. It's annoying for some schools. Like Vermont, unfortunately, was like, I don't know if they followed all the rules or if it was like a state by state thing, but like we got taxed. So like you get some amount of money every 6 months or every like semester. You know what I mean? And so me and Trey got 33% of that cut off the top to do our taxes. So that's hence, and again, I'm probably jumping ahead. That's why I started the businesses, because I couldn't afford to live because my parents didn't have money to send me. So again, on topic, it's just like a lot of paperwork. You have to do visas, you have to renew visas, get signatures, make sure you're doing your taxes. I learned how to do American taxes over there for like literally the entire Canadian athletic department. They'd all come to do the taxes at
the CPA.
And so it's the good thing is Canada and America, there's not a huge like gap in like individuals and how society works. So like it wasn't awful. It's just a lot of government paperwork and like boring stuff like that, I'd say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so you said some great stuff that I definitely want to talk about. But before that, you talked about you just were able to go in and you had 5 guys in there and the culture at UVM was just great and you fit right in. And we talk a lot about student athletes with finding the right fit, because maybe going to an Alabama is not the right fit for you. Maybe a Division III school with a smaller, tight-knit environment is maybe better for you. Did you just happen to just be blessed with that when you showed up to UVM, or prior to that, did you know, okay, Coach Becker, guys like Ethan, these are guys that I see myself, being involved with and fitting in? Because a lot of times, I'm sure at UVM it happened too. It happened at UConn. A bunch of my buddies, they go, 12 freshmen come in and then they end up with 5 just because it wasn't necessarily the right fit for that student athlete. Talk a little bit about, the fit for you. And did you know that prior, or did it just happen to just spark up like that?
Yeah. So I could have gone to a school like Binghamton or Hartford or somewhere where I would have played immediately. So at Vermont, my first 2 years, my freshman year at least, I like barely played at all, right? And so I did not expect that going in, but obviously when Ethan, Hector, Ryan Pearson are like above you, obviously as a senior in high school, you think you're like the dude. You go to a school and it's like, yeah, you're not the dude. Like you got to find a role, you got to fit into that role, and you got to like figure out how to get your minutes. And so that was like a huge, coming from Canada where you average like 50 points. It was a big like eye opener to me, at least that summer, that whole first year. It was like people are saying transfer, like you deserve better. It's like, nah, like I'm not at the level where I need to be at. So I need to like somehow get there, and transferring would be the easy way out. The reason why I picked Vermont is because I would not have fun going to a school and not winning. Vermont has a winning program, they have a winning coach. I couldn't go to, no offense to Binghamton or anything, like, you know what I mean? I couldn't go there and like enjoy not winning, you know what I mean? And so, and not being a part of a winning program where like winning's expected. So for me, it was a transition of like a normal freshman who like doesn't play, has to like figure it out in practice, grow, learn, get stronger. Sophomore year gets a chance, junior gets a chance, senior year, like that's kind of like the typical, I guess, freshman to senior. Like I wasn't like Trey who was like came in, killed it, had a great opportunity and like took advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like that's a dude who picked, or not picked, I should say, but just like took advantage of every opportunity and just worked his butt off. You know what I mean? Yep. I was more of the West Coast chill, figure it out as you go type vibe. You know what I mean?
No, you just said something great, like about people in your ear telling you to transfer.
Yeah.
Everyone is gonna have that moment. I think unless it's like a perfect seamless fit, like
which most of the times it's not. Most of the times that Drew is probably what happens more often than not.
And you trusted the process, like, and you said like I need to get better, and like having that mindset, and that's exactly right. Like you had that self-awareness, and then you step up. Talk a little about, it was your junior year where there was some injuries and you had to step up, and the year after I left, and you had this breakout season and helped lead the team to an NCAA tournament appearance. Talk about how that moment kind of clicked, and then how awesome that must have been after like taking the back seat for those first 2 years and then being the man and really stepping up.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, and it feels awesome to be a part of a winning like team, but it feels like incredible to be like have significant minutes in a winning program during that season. So like for junior and senior year, it was like the best. Like that makes up for everything. I think the big thing was my sophomore year, I really took a liking to the gym. Like I put on a lot of muscle. I got up to like 245 at one point, and I was essentially I just kind of just, because here, I guess long story short, in high school I was like a 3-4. I was a shooter. I was more of like a, and not to like say, I was like more of a Kevin Durant type player. It was not Definitely. Kevin Durant, but I'm more played along the lines of him. You know what I mean? Rather than like my junior senior year where they were just like, you're a 5, like get in the post, be like a banger, a bruiser. That's what we need. That's the role we need to fill. So I just got in the gym. I got from like 225 to 245 in a year, and then just like fit the role that was needed at the time. You know what I mean? Where it was just like became a true 5, would be able to shoot threes, but like really embraced what was needed and what I knew my position would be to be successful. So yeah, junior, senior year definitely made up for the freshman, sophomore grind sessions, I guess you could say, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think you seem like the kind of guy who's just, you're going to find a way to work. Like talking about the e-commerce a little bit before, coming over to the States. Now the role, you got to find different ways. But I think the reality is with a lot of student athletes, that's what it is. You may be coming in, like you said, a lot of guys come in, they're like, oh, I'm the man. I'm dropping 50 every year. I'm hitting, 20 home runs in high school. Like I'm going to be batting third. I'm going to be the guy. But the reality is a lot of the times that's not it. And, a guy like Trey was blessed that he came in and there was an opportunity, but more often than not, it's going to be, you're going to come in, you're going to have to work. And there's going to be guys like Ethan and Hector and who are going to have majority of the starting role. And you're going to have to find a way to, whatever it is, any way I can get in the lineup, I want to be in there. So before we go into the e-commerce and everything like that, because I think that's going to be a huge talking point, talk a little bit about your pro career. Because I know, the pro career, it's very glamorized. We talk about like, even we talked about it with Trey a lot. You go over, you're like, oh, I'm a pro. Like I made it, this is it, and a lot of the times it's tough. It's like, and especially for basketball guys, you guys are sent, totally in different parts of the country or the world. Ethan's in Germany, driving around in a smart car, living in an attic. It's a tough life. So talk a little bit about your pro career, the realities of it. It's not not everybody's getting, first round draft pick showing up in the Lambo to practice.
Yeah, so mine, it's interesting because I probably went in with the wrong mindset of like knowing that I didn't want to do it for many years. Like I knew that I wanted to do it for 1-2 years max. And so for me, it was more of like yeah, I did it. I proved that I could play professionally and did it somewhat successfully. You know what I mean? For me, and I had the same experience when I went over to play for Team Canada. We went to like Italy, Spain, Greece. We went to a bunch of beautiful places, and I never really felt very comfortable in Europe. So to go over there by myself, and like I was living in an old folks home, very small. Europe doesn't do it big, like very small, 1-bedroom, bathroom, no washer, no dryer, no car, had a bike. Like in the middle of winter, it gets dark at 3 p.m. We have 2 practices a day. I thoroughly did not enjoy my experience. You know what I mean? And then I got injured. Like I tore my hamstring and I was out for like 2.5 months of the 4.5, 5 months that I was there. You know what I mean? So it was like overall, I was like, I am good to wash my hands of this. You know what I mean? So for
absolutely.
me, I definitely don't look back with like a regret. I'm so happy that I did it, so that in, let's say, 5 years, I don't look back and think, what if I loved it? What if I missed out on the opportunity to do it? I am thoroughly happy that I did it, but like to do it and then not really enjoy it at any point, except for like the actual playing of games and obviously that experience. But like Estonia was obviously the first, or Estonian was the first language, Russian was a second, English was a third. People didn't speak English over there, you know what I mean? So it was like an alien and put into the middle of like where people take naps from 2 to 4, the whole city shuts down. Like I did not enjoy Estonia at all. Nothing bad about Estonia. I'm sure the rest of it's beautiful, but for pro basketball players, I did not enjoy it at all.
No. Eastern Europe's different. No, you said it really well. Like I never felt comfortable in Europe. I could not agree with that more. Like you're not going to feel comfortable in Europe as an American, right, even in these places that are more like commercial, like
westernized
place in Spain or Germany. Yeah. Like you're not going to feel comfortable, and you have to go in there knowing that. Like but I could not agree more. When I like talk to other people and give advice, I'm like, you have to, if you still love playing basketball or your sport and you have an opportunity to do it after college, you have to go pursue that.
Yeah,
because you can always go back and work, right? Like, and you got to just try it out. And I think, yeah, that's, like you said, no regrets ever with it. That's how I feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's it's you can have some great stories from playing overseas, at least.
It's a whole nother world over there for sure.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good too, because I think a lot of times we talk with student athletes about, just trying new things and just trying to, and see if you like it. Because outside of your sport, you might find, things that you're interested in. So I think definitely to stick with what you're good at and try, see if you even like it. I think it is true. Because, I'm sure there's plenty of guys who go play in Australia or go play in Spain and Italy, and they're like, man, I love this. I could do this for the next 10 years.
Right.
I mean,
Ethan talk a little who lives over there now.
Yeah. And they put their whole life into it.
Who's the guy? He lives over there. He has a family, a wife. He was a senior on the 6th class that lived there.
Friend of mine, yeah, Clancy Ruck. Yeah,
like that's the type of dude who loves it, thrives, and then stayed over there. Like,
yeah, no, 100%. You can find it, and you see a lot of American guys, start families over there. I saw it in Australia, and that scared me too. I was like, I could live on the other side of the world. like, and I could start my life here. You see Americans, and it's like, Australia's an amazing place to live. And I was like, I don't know if I really want this, but yeah, no, I look back at it, I'm like, man, how cool is that? Like all the time. I was like driving on the other side of the road, going down the wrong side of freeways, driving by the beach.
Going on the Autobahn, crazy.
Seasons. Yeah, never went on the Autobahn with my smart car. Smarter than that.
I see what you did there.
I think I hit like 60 kilometers once in that thing. But I fit like a glove. No one believes it. A 6'9" guy in a smart car like a glove. You could put the seat behind.
At least you had a car. I had a bike. I was driving a bike to practice in the middle of winter. Like, that's not fun.
It's not fun at all. It's not fun at all.
So yeah, let's get into our last question here, or not our last question, but our last main topic here about your whole journey to this business world. For the listeners, Drew can talk about this. He runs his own Christian clothing brand and Bench Marketing, and it's really successful through that, and has really become, and has his hands in a lot of different things, and it's become this really successful entrepreneur, business owner. And you started it in college, obviously, like you talked about earlier, because you had like lack of funds because of the way that the money system works. Explain that whole journey and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back into like, I was the kid in elementary school who would buy candy bars and sell them for like $2 out of my locker. Like, that's just the kind of drive I've had since I was like old enough to know what money was. I would like I'd be the dude who would go and mow lawns or shovel snow off of driveways. So for me, it's like come second nature of like just the love or the like know how to get money and just like that kind of hustle. So for me in college, lack of funds, Canadians get taxed money. So we have like, let's just say easy money wise, we have $6,000, $2,000 of it gets taken. You now have $4,000 when everyone else has $6,000 because that's what you're supposed to have to live off of. So for me, I didn't have a wealthy set of parents or parents who could send money at all. So I started to kind of get that hustle mindset again when it was like, you kind of needed it. Otherwise I didn't want to eat ramen. I wanted to eat what everyone else ate. Someone goes Chipotle, I want to be able to join them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So for me, I started this iPhone case selling business where like from China or Alibaba, I'd buy like 100 cases, cost me $100. I'd sell them all for $10, keep the profits, obviously, shipping, whatever. But it was kind of like, I'm a learner by doer. I cannot sit in a classroom, hear a teacher talk about something and like apply it. I have to do it. Like I have to start it, create it, like learn everything by doing. Right. And so for me, I kind of did that e-commerce journey and then it kind of got into, okay, there's profit in this, but it's not like massive profits. I want to get into something service based. So then I got into the like Instagram management back when Instagram was a thing in businesses and older owners didn't really know how to do it. I would run their Instagram accounts for them, grow their followers, like just do that. And that was service based. So 100% of that's like profit. You know what I mean? So you charge 1,000, you keep 1,000. So that's kind of how that kind of snowballed into what it is now. Bench Marketing being a paid and organic email and e-commerce business where we run Facebook and Instagram ads for like smaller to medium-sized e-commerce business owners. We also do mentorship in there where individuals who can't purchase our larger packages can do more of a mentorship where we teach them how to do stuff. There's a lot of branches within Bench Marketing, but that's just like too much to go over. Right? Those are the two main sources of income in that one. And then God the Father is full e-commerce, switch to Christian clothing based brand where my mom actually kind of runs and operates that entire thing back in a Vancouver warehouse. But those two things have only really been like, I started them just under 2 years ago. So I've literally been head down grinding for the last year and a half where it's kind of like 12, 13, 14 hour days. Ethan can attest to it. We're in group chats and I'm not very active some months or weeks for sure because of it. So yeah, it's definitely been a positive last year and a half, 2 years though, for sure.
That's awesome. That's unbelievable that you're just doing that all. That's crazy. And before our sort of last question about student athlete and all that, what about just the process of doing it and going to school? Because I think a lot of kids, when they're picking their majors and stuff like that, they're okay, well, if I'm going to do this, then that means this is my career path. Or when I'm done with basketball, this is what I'm going to do. But you're a guy, even when we were talking at the beginning, you talked about, really from what your major and what you wanted to do, it wasn't a whole lot tied to it, but
Yeah.
you were able to go out there, try different things. Talk a little bit about just, being tied down and just being really to go out there and experience it for yourself and to say, hey, this is something that I could do and I can see my successful doing it.
Yeah, so I went to school for business marketing, but as you had mentioned, none of the stuff I do today is tied to that. I did I did want to do business marketing because I didn't want to go to college. Worst case scenario, my entrepreneurship dreams don't pan out. I wanted to at least have a good degree to have a backup plan to go work for another marketing agency or something, which I did have a stint in for about 6 months, where then I realized, as I had mentioned at the beginning, my side income passed my main income. So I said, screw that. I'm just going to do it all by myself anyways. But for me, it was more of a pride thing, I guess, to like take a good major that I could say like, hey, mom, I did it. Like, look at it. That other than that, I kind of just, again, I'm a self teacher. And so learning by doing and figuring out what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy. Like to this day, I still have that same mindset where if I don't enjoy it, I hire someone to do it. And I have employees based on around things that I do not like doing for that a specific reason. So I don't know. I think school's an awesome thing. And it definitely, like, I have these debates with people all the time because I'm very passionate about it, obviously, of like, go work for yourself. If you have the ability to make money, like do it. Why put money in someone else's pocket when you can do it yourself? And like, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I have full debates on with people who are school goers and enjoy that and do that. And I've come to realize like there are two types of people, and there's no wrong route for that. If you have the ability and the drive to become an entrepreneur, I say fully go for it. But if you don't and you enjoy the 9 to 5 and the work from online and kind of do it for someone else, low risk stuff like that, people enjoy that, people thrive on that. So I don't know. I think I'm definitely pros for both of them. Just knowing who you are as a person, what route's best for you, I'd say is the best thing to do for sure.
Definitely. And so just going right off that, we talk a lot about, student athletes, and it's really tough. And like you said, your freshman year, you were like blindsided. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot going on right now. And even just growing up playing basketball, talk a little bit about just playing basketball and just, going through the grind, running suicides, puking, different things that really helped you in this entrepreneurship and your journey, knowing that, hey, if I did this, and if I went to UVM and I went and I excelled there, this stuff, I could do this stuff easy. I could do this in my sleep because I know as a basketball player and a hard worker, I'm able to get it done. So talk a little bit about being a student athlete, being an athlete, and how it prepared you for, running these successful businesses now.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good question, because in college, I mean, looking back at it now, it seems not even real, but we would get up, go to lift, have a bunch of classes, go to practice, have some night classes sometimes, or some online classes, or go to study hall for an hour or two a day. And then I'd have to come home and fulfill a bunch of orders and whatnot. It literally was like, looking back on it, it's disgusting how busy we were. Like literally sometimes from 7 to midnight, it would be nonstop, just go, go, go. Like looking back on that, I'm actually like, doesn't make any sense how we did it. But even in high school, where you look back at high school, you go from 7 to 3, you work out, you have homework, and like, so I don't know, being a student athlete and or even having like those type of passions where you come back after your 9 to 5 and you have those side income and those side jobs, should I say, sorry. I don't know. It's like, it's nuts to look back on that and see how busy we were. So to go through something like that, where college, it's like a nonstop grind, and even on weekends, you still are kind of going to practice, you're still lifting, you're still doing homework, you're still fulfilling orders. It's like, looking at it now where my life is like, yes, it's busy, but even on a bad day, I can look back at pushing Ethan on suicide plates, or like those sleds.
The prowlers.
Yeah.
I could look back on that and be like, my life is so good. Like it could be so much worse than it is at the moment where I'm at my lowest. So yeah, that prepared me fully for like time management and like your self-talk, where you can like be like, talk to yourself and be like, Drew, it's really not that hard. Like you've been through worse. You know what I mean? Definitely prepared me for how we are, or how life is now, for sure.
100% perspective there. Yeah, and this is one of the last couple of two. You pretty much answered this, but if being a student athlete is so hard, why do it? That's what we ask. One of the questions that we ask all of our guests. What's your answer to that?
If being an athlete was so hard, why do it?
If being a student athlete is so hard, why do it? Yeah.
Just going through the process, it's like, if it's going to be so hard and you have to grind all this, why even do it? Is it the love of the game, or is it whatever it is?
I think my answer kind of goes twofold. One, it's for the love of the game. Also, financially, you get to go to school for free if you're lucky enough to have a full scholarship. I think that then and there, if you don't come out of school with $250,000 in debt, like, you won. So I think it's worth it for that. I think it's worth it for the friend group that you're now, like, that's probably the biggest one, honestly, is the friend group that I have now, like Ethan, Trey, Ernie, Everett, like those type of dudes. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I'm definitely not going to go on a rampage of everyone. Like that right there is probably, because I don't know, you've been a sorority or frat. I'm sure that you have a great bond in that as well. But like, I think the combination of the three things, like the sport, the financial like wins that you get there, and the group of people, I think that makes it more than worth it for sure.
100%.
Absolutely. And so the last question for we have here to wrap this up, if you could go back in time, talk to a younger Drew, when you're in Seattle, or when you were in high school, when you were in, how do you say it, grade 10, or not the 10th grade?
Grade 10, 10th grade, yeah.
What would you go back and tell yourself? And, what would be your advice to your younger self?
I would say take risks earlier, rather than being so worried about like retirement, or I'm a big numbers financial guy. So like to this day, when I was like 14, I'd be like, I need to put this money away so it can compound interest and I can retire. Like I am a risk taker, but looking back on it now, I did not take nearly as many risks as I should have. Like if I'm in 10th grade, I'm fully locked in on like myself, and I don't need to work for anyone else. Like I have the ability and the knowledge. It's the scared risk factor that if I were to tell myself and go back, one thing I'd say, like, take the risk, go do it for yourself, like now, rather than waiting until you've gone through the normal 9 to 5, which I always knew I wasn't going to do, but risk wise, I thought it was smart. I would say just screw that. Just risk it all now. That's what I would say for sure.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, the Big Bench, Vancouver's very own. Thanks for coming on, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Really great talk. Yeah.
Drew, awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to The Pickle, who is brought to you by AC4SA, academic coaching for student athletes, whose goal is to use the power of sport to unleash the athlete's potential in the academic arena.